as Lyssandra's going to join in with Nidalee on the other side up against MLXG.
Yeah, you know, I'm not surprised that we're seeing a couple of jungle bans thrown here. I expect the Graves to also be taken off the board because MLXG is an absolute monster. If you want to see a good jungle performance, go watch Game 2, RNG versus EDG. I believe it was Fire Lolly that...
He had a bad time.
Yeah, he didn't have fun that game, I'm going to say.
Did not there as
He wanted to play League of Legends, and MLXG did not let him.
Well, Gangplank going to be banned there by Hyper Youth Gaming, so continuing to take the power picks off the board. We've seen Gangplank a couple times, but very rarely. He's been banned or picked every single game. As you can see, bans against these two teams here. Pretty common stuff for the most part, as Ryze also going to get another ban, but blue side this time, actually.
Yeah, so just not wanting to first pick it looks like, which means you don't want it to go first rotation over to Hyper Youth Gaming. So in the current meta, Ryze, such a strong flex pick. Good lockdown CC and consistent damage. Understand why Royal want to take it off the board.
And there's a Quinn ban, which probably means Alistar is coming on the way through for Royal. But maybe not. They are going to have a Poppy at least for now. But Royal's drafts have been super solid as well. And there is Poppy actually, giving probably Looper that first pick, but can of course go over to Marta as well.
Yeah, when we look down the line now, Lysandra, Lulu, Graves, all left available. Kindred is still up as well, so we'll see what they want to play. Alistar, as you mentioned, such a strong pick. Trundle seems to be the answer to that. We'll see exactly what Royal Hyper Youth Gaming want to go with, because this is kind of where you have to pick your poison, because you know you're giving two back across to the other side.
Yep, there's Alistar, Lulu, pretty much as expected here for HYG. Curious to see if the Poppy priority pays off here for Royal. But they do have a couple more picks to make now.
Well, I like the Poppy priority because the pressure on Looper is kind of like play an anti-carry. So play a Quinn, play Poppy, someone that can take a carry out of the lineup. And then because MLXG is such a good carry jungler, we're always going to be one carry up in these team fights. So Looper has to play a very specific champion pool to be able to get that job done. And right now, it does seem like it is going to be Poppy and Quinn that fill that kind of role for Looper.
Yeah, and Looper's played actually quite a surprisingly high amount of different champions, already in this season. But it is nice to see him really go back to some stuff where he's just playing positionally, using those teleports, flanking well, and then just destroying poor, helpless, squishy carries. As Trundle does get picked up here by Royal, which probably means it is going to be Looper's Poppy, and MLXG is going to get his Graves.
So Graves, Trundle, shudder to think the fact that they got round to second round on the blue side.
I mean, HYD did not get bad picks.
They didn't get bad picks, but, you know, we talk about how a really nicely played Trundle can stop a lot of Alistar's aggressive, because if Alistar goes in, the pillar cuts off the rest of the team, strips away a lot of Alistar's resistances. And we'll see whether, you know, the two picks that are here, because Lysandra is still available in the mid lane as well. It's banned. Ignore that one.
Didn't leave it open this time. We've seen, again, that be quite an effective champion. As HYG, what do they want to take here? They probably need a jungler. Rex has been popular. Elise has seen quite a bit of play as well, so that is the hover here. And really, I'm curious about what Ghosty plays here. I think he's had a couple of struggles as far as mid lane identity goes. Seems to like a lot of the long-range poke-style mages, but haven't maybe worked out for him. That is Lucian locked in, so XQ pick that one up. Take it away from Lush, actually. There's a few plays on it this season already.
But Misfortune's still available, and that's... you know, Lucian has a pretty good lane matchup, but the E harass is still there. We'll see whether he's able to make it work.
Yeah, we'll see if Elise can do anything as well, as that was the pick. Going to go over to March there in that jungle, but MLXG never afraid of fighting anyone, especially on a champion like Graves, so I guess we'll have to just see, as Royal are going to round out their draft now. Where do they want to go? Xiaohu can do just about anything. Whoosh, doesn't really matter what he gets, he'll be just fine. And this will be relatively solid hit around this out. RNG just want to pick safe solo lanes, I think. Or safe AD carry and a safe mid laner.
Yeah, Tristana and Kalista are the two carries that Woosh has seemed to favor at this stage. You know, he has got a Misfortune game as well, which is why I mentioned it. But just good siege, when you have a relatively short-range lineup, like a Poppy Trundle, need something to be able to hit those turrets, so Tristana makes perfect sense.
Pretty solid pick for Woosh. One of his most played of last season as well, so he knows it very well.
Also doing me a favor, both of them on the same team, so I don't get confused by the icon.
See, now you can study the differences. This is important. As HYG consider their last pick. I'm sorry.
I don't understand why we did it, you know?
They're facing different directions. That has to tell you, right?
And the same person facing different directions is still the same person. As it actually looks like it'll be Lulu mid lane.
Could be. Kosu does like his long-range mages, as I mentioned. Lulu's not quite locked, but should be just fine as far as safe champions go.
And this is a very SKT comp being put together right now by Hyper Youth Gaming, you know. Used to seeing then Marin in the top lane on something like a Fiora. Very similar feel as well. And then you have the Lulu Lucian for late game and all the catch potential out of an Elise and Alistar. So I like what they've put together. Very good team fighting prowess right now. Fiora dives in, gets a big knock up. Alistar able to follow relatively easily, and they do have a lot of late game damage.
Yep.
On the side of RNG though, and we keep going back to this, it just seems like it's a little bit easier to execute. As wow, Lupa looks like he wants to trundle.
Yeah, that was the nice thing about their first pick Poppy, is they can actually make this swap. So we'll see what Royal do when to settle these champions. But let's actually touch on that Fiora for a bit, which was the last pick there for HYG. You said, you know, very similar comp, Fiora and sort of the same feel. I think a lot of people would think, hang on, how does that make sense? But I actually agree with you.
Yeah, so it's just about like the pokey safe laning phase that you scale up into a good split pusher and also has the ability to team fight. And it's really weird. Fiora and Nara are kind of those two champions that have really good split pushing prowess, but move into team fight relatively smoothly. You know, you don't necessarily say the same thing about Trundle. He's very easy to kite. He needs to be ahead, as we saw, wow, Koro last game. That was scary. To get into the team fights and do the right things. As we do have a swap back, I believe, so Lupa going to be on that Poppy.
Seems like Lupa will take it, which makes sense. I mean, Poppy support's just fine, but I think pairs a little bit better with Kalista, and I think Marta's just probably going to take the, I can't believe I'm saying this, but slightly better support in Trundle as opposed to Poppy.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, like, it depends how the Fiora wants to play, and I think what they've said is the Fiora is probably going to go towards the team fight, so we need Poppy with items, so we have an equally good team fighting top laner, as opposed to an equally good split pusher, because they kind of had to pick their poison, and right now it's on S17 to see whether he can hold the Poppy down in lane.
Well, it makes an even better looking draft than for Royal, who starting off on the right foot here for their last game of the week. You can see those team comps there. Again, RNG does look good, but HYG certainly no slouch. We are going to get ourselves onto the Rift and start game number 1. And here we are for the first game between Royal Never Give Up and Hyper Youth Gaming. So we do have actually a pretty spread start here at level 1. XQ going to hit the ward twice. Not going to quite finish it for that first CS though. So no 10 gold this time around, but actually no real invades here. No deep vision by the looks of things. Just very neutral start from both sides. Although Gosu might be caught here. He's going to run away there and looks like we'll ward up that blue.
Yeah, they see straight away that Elise is the top side of the jungle, so that's all what they wanted to know. Exactly where March was starting. And Shu trying to do the same.
Yep, they do spot him, of course, so now know the bottom lane will be in the bottom lane, but does ward up those Krugs for a bit of vision. Didn't want to go too far. Could have been a bit risky, but seems like we might just have a lane swap.
Yeah, it certainly does. Woosh going back towards that top side of the map. You see straight away that the rotation has come out of RNG as well to get MLXG down on that red buff. And both junglers, Elise and Graves. That's why I like the Elise in this matchup. They do different things, but they both jungle incredibly quickly at the start of the game and can help out these, I guess, 4v0 lane swaps we've kind of gone back to.
Yep, we've seen a couple of different responses to the lane swap, but most commonly, I think we've seen a lot of fast pushes with the 3v0 or 4v0. Looks like Gromp was started, though, by the dual lane of Royal and double jungling on both sides. Nope, I'm missing one. Fiora's actually top lane. So he's now going to meet the AD carry. He was a little late due to taking that Grump, but now already level 2. So going to start shoving Fiora back.
Yeah, exactly right. You see that Fiora had actually lost a little bit of health there. Has to pop one of the flasks. Probably took one of the small sentinels at the red buff, you would have to think, to try and get that advantage. Wow, Xiaohu going aggressive.
Yeah, good damage. Gosu's still level 1. They are going to pop some flasks there and trade some corrupting touches back, but actually it just seems like Xiaohu's trying to cover his jungler, who's gone in to invade on the safe side. Gosu now level 2. Should be a bit safer. And you can see Lupa doing some jungling. He's S17. Doesn't like any of this. He's just going to go ahead and leave.
Yeah, Xiaohu was actually trying to bait Gosu into going a little bit more aggressive because Lupa and MLXG were at that side of the jungle. Instead, you know, Lulu able to trade relatively well, and this will be a 3-buff start.
Yeah, they went from red to red, actually, so good counter jungling here, actually, from RNG. You can see at least we'll get the Raptors and maybe the Krugs, but only small camps there for March as we start things off. And now we're going to transition into a fast push, so pretty creative adaptation there for Royal.
Yeah, it certainly is. So they're able to swing across the map, grab as much as they want. Elise is actually counter jungling, so leaving camps up for the Graves. One of the few junglers that I still like to leave a little camp up, just because of how quickly he does jungle. And it looks like they're going to leave MLXG to try and power farm and only 3-man push this. Yeah,
I like it. Cover the take the Rift Scuttler, cover that entrance as well, and then make sure MLXG can secure the 3-buff and continue to farm ahead. We've seen a lot of this from Graves. He is most effective at level 6 and onwards, so might as well get him there a bit faster. This will give HGY a slightly faster push, though. S17 should be the first one to clean this turret.
Yeah, he's going to clean it very early into the game, and you see that both fall relatively quickly. Dragon, however, will be secured. You lose a little bit of tempo for going with this, but March should be able to maintain pretty healthy on this Elise as he gets some more Spiderlings out. And they need to be careful that they don't give him away too much of an experience advantage to RNG here, because this took much longer than I think they expected.
Yeah, good juggling though as well. A little tricky at low levels, but well executed by HYG to take it safely. Smart. We'll go a bit wide. There we go. We'll pick up the Dragon though. So HYG take what they can as some towers trade in opposite sides of the map. Looks like bottom lane is going to return to actual bottom lane now though, as Marta and Woosh return to this side of the map.
And you can see that they've given S17 a lot more farm at this stage of the game. 12 to 6. Was able to pick up a lot of it, but that means that there is a 5 CS advantage for Woosh, who's going to clean the rest of that lane, shove into turret, and it looks like for the first time we might actually get standard lanes after a lane swap. They're not going to swap it back. Instead, they want to try and pressure this Poppy on the top side of the map.
Yeah, well, Looper's just fine. He's got that tower there, so no onus on him to really go into a different 1v2. Woosh and Marta want to pressure this tower anyway, so I like it. Royal again, playing the early stages quite nicely, but you can see HYG have put their dual lane back into this bottom side as well. And they're going to start collecting some CS. Solution should catch up as he gets probably most of that wave, but Looper, who's now caught up on CS, although a little behind on items because Fiora did get a shop in. We'll see if he can have any struggles at all and where he can keep that wave, because he does still have a tower to run back to if anything should befall him.
Yeah, you can see straight away. Wants some aggression there. Pops the W to try and stop the dash, but now it's in, and Looper's in big trouble.
Very nice from March here. One vital left. Looper doesn't really want to flash. Does do it late, but the Thunderlords procs after the Q, and that'll be first blood.
And that's why you either flash early or you just don't flash at all. In the end, Looper does fall down to a very nice gank from March, but that was all started off by S17 as...
Yeah, MLXG going to start dishing some damage back. Does want the kill if he can get it, but 2v1 right now. Just going to keep throwing shells into the back, but he'll run out of range. March will be safe, and MLXG at least protects the pink ward.
Yeah, so he doesn't get anything in the end, but good pressure there from MLXG. You just see how confident he is on this champion. As another good trade in the mid lane.
This is an interesting all-in. Gosu actually maybe a little late on the ulti. He's already been ignited, but Xiaohu, no more abilities to go back in, and they just use everything almost.
Yeah, I'm really surprised Xiaohu backed out of that, because he had the flask running, and I think the burst was kind of done out of the Lulu. As you see, MLXG, he's going to come help push this lane out, you suspect.
Yep, Xiaohu, they're actually staying now that his jungle is here, so we'll take a bit of greedy farm. Use end of the line there just to move the wave low, and then Xiaohu's able to easily distort and take that away. So, interesting stuff there in the mid lane, but getting very aggressive from both of them. Xiaohu is going to have to get his shop in, but he'll go back just about now and pick those items up. And we'll have Fiendish Codex and that Forbidden Idol actually, so maybe Morellonomicon versus that Frostfang and an Amp Tome. So, possible build divergence here for this mid lane. It's one of the first times we've really seen mid laners take different items.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, that's just a lot more kill threat as opposed to catch threat at this stage of the game. Morellonomicon a little bit more AP, a little bit more cooldown reduction and mana regen. So Xiaohu looking for a very aggressive start against Gosu in the mid lane. Talking about aggressive, Looper, you're at a tier 2 turret.
Yep, just hanging out. I mean, his tier 1's there, but it's quite a long way to have to run back to. But applying good pressure and actually winning in CS relatively nicely, although there's a decent way for 17 to pick up here. I guess Looper's got some decent vision up towards that top side. MLXG is also cheating towards it as well. So feeling safe right now as Ghosty maybe feels very unsafe. Does dodge the chain though, should be fine. MLXG not quite 6 yet, so that gank not as potent as it looked.
Yeah, and you know, still had both summoner spells available, so probably not too much danger there for the Lulu. As Xiaohu, as you said, did miss that chain, and there's not really much follow-up CC going to be coming out of a Graves. and relatively normal map right now. Even though we had the 1 kill go across to Hyper Youth Gaming, it's only about a 300 gold lead. And good farm numbers across the board. Really means that this is a wide open map for anyone to take.
Yep, March is going to take the bottom side Scuttle Crab though. And we'll see if he does make his way back towards the top lane and try and punish Looper, who is pushed up with no flash nice and aggressively into that tower. Looks like Looper maybe getting a little more wary now.
So that wave will eventually bounce back. The way the wave works is if it's even and on your side of Summoner's Rift, it will eventually push back towards your opponent because your minions get there first, and then they create this kind of super death ball of a couple of caster creeps, and they push back relatively quickly. So we'll see whether Looper tries to make a play somewhere else around the map, maybe go for 1 gank in the mid lane or something before heading back top to pick up what should be a fairly big minion stack. Or whether they're just comfortable, you know, trading farm across the map.
Smart play from Looper, but I think he's just going to go back to his top lane now, as it doesn't seem like mid lane was a particularly good gank path. Alistar actually has shown his way up here as well, so perhaps expecting more jungler intervention, but MLXG now level 6, continuing to farm up. Going to go ahead and donate this blue buff probably, and that should give Xiaohu a bit of an equalizer there in the mid lane, because Gosu just got his. So not too sure why the dual lane of HYG has come to that mid lane, but certainly looking to group up for a bit more pressure now.
Yeah, and good guy Xiaohu even gives one of the little sentinels across. Most junglers will opt to take both for themselves, about 20 gold each, so you know, a little bit of extra bank if you're able to grab that instead of your mid laner. Xiaohu, wow, going aggressive.
Yep, good damage, just burns everything, has the blue buff. Knows those cooldowns are nice and low. As now top lane, MLXG is going to join in, but it's the wrong 1v2. HYG's top lane are going to try and get out of this one. Does pop the grand challenge onto Looper. Might need it for the vital proc and a bit more speed. Mata coming in as well as with a great pillar in a roam, and they combo it in. Looper gets the charge in there. Ulti up from MLXG, and S17 needs to get out. Looper can't check the bush in time. Oh, barely misses the kill.
S17 able to get out into a pink ward that he'd placed earlier. And that was a lot expended there. You know, even Looper's flash in the end. And it's not going to result in a kill. That was so close. And that pillar poppy tackle combo is really fun.
What finesse from RNG, though, to set that all up. S17 played well to get out of it. But an excellent combo there from Mata and a nice roam. So looking if we'll see more of that synergy between the ex-teammates. Now, I guess current teammates again. And, of course, former world champions we have. As Xiaohu still farming up in that mid lane, but I think suspects some trickery. Alistar was there in the mid lane, but they'll give it up. As Dragon 2 has come up and HYG decided, might as well just consolidate and take that instead.
Yeah, you know, Looper still in the top lane, has teleport if they want a challenge, but I don't think for a Dragon 2 you would want to. So maybe go for a steal here from MLXG. Otherwise, just let it go down. It's only the second Dragon of the game, and realistically, teams don't like to fight until the third or the fourth one anymore. Just a little bit too much risk for not very much reward unless you can get all 5.
Which does take a while.
Yeah.
So, makes a lot of sense. Xiaohu clear out these waves here. Does have a slight CS lead in mid lane, so doing okay. As it does seem like in general, the CS is pretty even. Woosh a bit behind, but we'll catch up here. And Looper and S17 have actually been just trading back and forth. Looper actually back ahead, but S17 will catch up. He's just playing safe. Doesn't want to go too far away from his tier 2 turret, so he's just waiting for Looper to push it back.
Yeah, and this is going to mean a very swingy top lane, because what this results in is 2 big waves bouncing backwards and forwards, and a window of time where you can either make a play top because you have a big minion wave or an overextending top laner, as Gosu chunks out Xiaohu.
Yeah, good damage in there as well, but Gosu does taste the right one, but doesn't quite have enough CC to keep going, but Xiaohu's going to get forced out there. That's Gosu using no summoners, actually. Just some early pressure with that glitter lance.
Yeah, just a good heads-up play. What I was going to say, it means that you either do what Snake does, which is you make a play whilst your lane is pushing, so your top laner will teleport somewhere or, you know, just make a roam into the mid lane, or you gank the lane whilst there's a big creep wave because it's very hard to fight in it, and it costs you a lot if you are able to lose out on it all. Instead, it looks like they're just happy to trade farms, which means that both teams feel like they're relatively equally matched.
Yeah, and Hyper Youth Gaming actually focusing mid quite a number of times. That's at least the 3rd time that I've seen Shu walk up to this area, and they almost look for a dive there, but Mata was in position to deflect it. Now MLXG in the area. Good dodge of the cocoon there, but did blind March first, who threw it in the right direction. And Looper actually going bottom side, it feels like. This could be problems for XQ. Where he run? He's going to run towards his teammates, which is probably the right direction, but Marta, we're going to block him off there at the pass. Oh, the pillar, not quite there. MLXG in position, but the rest of HYG are ready to fight. Looper, though, does want to, knocks up the Lulu. Now going to keep moving in there as the damage is out from the Graves. Whoosh, can't get in position as March is now caught completely out of it. And Marta going to keep chasing in. Seems like he's popped the ulti, getting the slows down there with the Trump. Looper coming back in as they're going to pop the Lulu Wild Growth. Now MLXG going to move in, needs to pop the ulti. Xiaohu goes straight in, goes for the diver, misses the damage on the repels. A nice dodge comes out.
Oh.
There's the ulti up from Graves, but Shu with the face block. And that'll be just safe for now.
And Marta held that turret aggro until the Elise was going to come down. And this is what we said. You try and make a play whilst the top laner has to farm the wave, or they give it up to the turret. In the end, it means that an objective will probably be secured here for RNG. So not all for naught, but that was a lot burnt for only the mid lane.
Yeah, good objective to get, but did use a lot there. Unfortunately, XQ, I think he's just culling a little bit early, so couldn't stop enough of the cannon wave coming in, and that will give RNG that crucial turret, in the mid, and actually give them the lead in structures as well. So pretty slim gold lead here, about 700 up for Royal Never Give Up, but a nice play there. Didn't convert on the kills, but just generally good movement from Royal.
Yeah, it certainly was, and the idea was right, which is even more impressive because, you know, this is not Royal just waiting for a teleport play anymore. This is them making proactive movements around the map and starting to try and build their own advantages. And Looper, you know, we talk about this wave bouncing back and forth, means that it should be in S17's favor right now, but Looper's going to pick up another massive minion wave and push it back and actually have about a 20 CS advantage when it's all said and done.
Yep, so starting to farm up nicely, and typically of Looper, keeping good control of the top lane wave, even when it's been a little bit trickier to navigate here in the early lane swap.
Oh, he's going to let it push back slowly. I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, he's going to go back now, so... Oh, never mind. He
doesn't agree with it either.
He's going to go back and push that out here. You can see S17, Swifty Boots, and Caulfield's Hammer plus that Phage. So Black Cleaver looks to be that first item. Should be online quite quickly. As down in the bottom side, Essence Reaver for XQ. Got that BF Sword Hammer combo instead. And Rapid Fire Cannon first. This is becoming more and more common among the LPL Tristaners and possibly globally as well. Everyone loves RFC.
Yeah, it's a really good item, and you know, when you look at what Infinity Edge gives you, mathematically it makes more sense to pick up your Zeal item first. Also helps with things like sieges, so as long as you have a BF Sword, I prefer BF Sword Pickaxe into Rapid Fire Cannon, but some AD into attack speed seems to be what a lot of AD carries are now favoring.
Yeah, you can see Whoosh on the Triss especially. Going to be transitioning nicely towards those first two items, which are nice and important, and then of course everyone's favorite 3-item spike on the Tristana. A little bit behind in CS, but should be just fine here. Has been safely farming that long wave down in the bottom. So there's a lot of movement, lots of pretty intricate stuff happening as far as the lane swap goes, but Royal made the first proactive play. HYG with their 2 dragons. That's sort of been all they've been managed to get on the map so far. We'll see if they can change it up, as Dragon 3 is actually up in just over a minute.
Yeah, that's probably where we'll see the big first fight out of RNG. Dragon 3 or Dragon 4. Until then, they're just happy trading farm. And I want to know what Whoosh goes towards for his third item. You mentioned it. A lot of variety right now. You can go for the last Whisper item if you feel like the other team has the tanks necessary, like the Poppy, like the top lane Trundle. However, right now there isn't that threat. So does he go for a QSS to try and drop a lot of S17's damage from the ultimate, or just for the Bloodthirster for the raw damage output that will be available? Really think that Merc Scimitar is the best third item right now for any AD carry that has a reposition tool, just because it means if you ever get caught out by something like a Cocoon Polymorph, as I said, that big Fiora ultimate, the Grand Challenge, able to drop a lot of the damage and get the heck out of there. And Whoosh, as we keep mentioning, just needs to stay safe. And Looper should be able to do majority of the heavy lifting in these team fights along with Marta. Then he can just safely pop shot people from the back line. Yeah,
Looper looking good. You can see actually working the bottom turret pretty hard. The May found a catch here though. Elise caught in the jungle. Actually, Chain kept tethering. March, I think, got knocked back there. He was still CC'd up, but the Wild Growth will come in to save him. Martin now in as Looper's deep into enemy territory. Grand Challenge, you should be MLXG. First kill there onto March. Now they're going to chase in towards Gosu in the mid lane. XQ though will come in to fend it off. Looper taking a little bit too much damage. MLXG has to go in. Shu headbutts Looper to safety, and now he's going to go down as Whoosh picks up the reset going in for the next kill. S17 does answer back with a double as he takes up Poppy and Graves. Bit messy, 2 for 2.
Yeah, that's good for S17 and Hyper Youth Gaming, however, because getting some gold onto the Fiora means that she will start be able to challenge this Poppy around the map. Bad news for RNG. They had a free turret in the bottom lane. They just didn't want it. And now Hyper Youth Gaming want this dragon.
Yeah, 3v3. Cooldowns all but expended here. Xiaohu does have his ulti. Whoosh has his as well, but that's about it here. I guess at least us as well if you guys want to get technical. But HYG should be able to force them off here. Double Pink's actually keeping the river nice and clear. Sneaky one on the back there from RNG though. He's going to give them vision. I think that means Hyper Youth Gaming maybe don't want to challenge just yet. We're actually shoving mid lane, trying to force some pressure out here. But they are going to have to give up Dragon number 3. Marta can't steal it with a pillar. So that will be the 3rd Dragon going over to Hyper Youth.
And you could see they definitely didn't want to do it. As we take a replay of the last fight, you can see bottom lane is on the turret. They should have been able to take that. Instead, March falls down. No CC available. And this looks like a fantastic fight right now for RNG. You know, back out, take the bottom lane turret. Instead, they keep chasing. Looper gets incredibly greedy, gets chunked out. And then S17 able to just put in work. You know, he takes MLXG out, takes Looper out, dashes back to safety. Very nicely played by the top laner of Hyper Youth Gaming. Save that team fight.
Yeah, little split up there from Royal towards the end. And the greed did certainly cost them. They are still up 2,000 gold as the Rift Herald is going to go late over to Royal, which might give them a bit more ability to start these pushes. I have a feeling, oh, it's actually going to MLXG.
So a lot of teams like to do this, you know, at about the 19-minute mark. No one really is concerned about Herald, but it's a 300 gold on the map for someone to take from your team. So why not pop down there, pick it up for yourself, get an empowered recall, a little bit stronger minions. They don't really give you much, but if it doesn't break tempo of the game, there's really no downside in taking him off the map.
Yep, especially because Baron being up soon means that you're not going to take that guy right as he spawns usually. So makes sense as Whoosh now guarding the top side of the map.
And wow, S17 thinks he has a chance here.
Has some. Looper 1 level up is going to give him a slight edge, but S17 on Fiora. It does have Tiamat now up as well, so hasn't quite completed an item. Although Shao is going to dive in onto Gosu, will force the flash, just pop his way back with the W. And Marta continuing to apply that pressure, just walks in 1 pillar. And that's about that easy as HYG 3 strong in the top lane.
Coming in the top lane.
This could be bad news here. It looks like HYG are going to pull it in, try and stop this, but RNG are trying to close the gap. Parry does come in there as Looper will get knocked around and issued the grand challenge. Whoosh now getting aggressed on as that's going to force a flush out of Shu. Whoosh goes in, gets the huge buster shot to pick up the kill on Xiao. He's going to chase down the other carries. His Ludens will proc and collect it as now March is going to be aggressed on. Pop up there from Looper with the ulti on the Poppy, and they want to chase Gosu as well. Target selection looking great here for RNG as they might clean the whole rift off of HYG. Shu going to get tower dive. Does not have his ulti. No, they'll pull out from him, but 4 clean kills.
And this is what we used to say about Samsung White. RNG not as refined, but when you have initiators like Marta, like Looper running around the rift, your carries can just kind of sit at the back and do whatever you want. You know, Pastry Time, you said 20 minutes. You're probably not going to look towards Baron. RNG obviously missed that memo because they're going to pick it up pretty much 30 seconds after he spawns.
Make me look like a liar here, but the damage is good. Whoosh does want to be careful. He needs the buff more than anything else, so he'll actually back away. Not needed yet for the DPS, but decisive team fight in the top lane for Royal. Will net them the Baron at the end of it. HYG not around to even have a look except with their Scrying Orb, and big swing now.
It certainly is, and the thing that makes it even bigger is with a Tristana, 2 items, and all this siege potential currently on RNG, there's 5 turrets still up in the outer ring that you think will all fall before the onslaught, and that just makes gold from 5,000 out to about a 10,000 gold mark. Honestly, Hyper Youth Gaming can't let it happen and need to try and steal a teamfight win somehow here, because this death ball is just going to group up and Whoosh is going to start chipping out turrets.
Well, could be tricky here as Whoosh now going to start his crusade in the bottom lane. 17 will back off as we'll see where Royal do want to go. Seems like this outer turret's a good spot to start, like you mentioned, so I'll see if they can use that demolition as Tristana and knock down as many of HYG's structures while they still have the Baron buff. This is potential to really swing that gold lead up to the 8 to 10k mark. And Royal, what's their average game time again? They're just making it look so easy.
Yeah, it certainly is around 34 minutes, and we'll see whether this comes in on time. Looks like it might even be quicker at this stage. Get that average back down a little bit further. They've pushed the long lane to try and get as many minions towards the turret as possible. Whoosh, MLXG, if they're able to have some free time, should make short work of this. Instead, they're leaving Looper in the top lane to create some split pushing pressure and just being nice and patient.
It's actually 3-lane pressure right now. Shahu's in mid lane, basically stopping any transition. So Looper's got a whole host of help as MLXG's even working on this turret as well. It's curious for RNG, but if it works, they'll knock these structures down even faster and quite possibly break an inhibitor as well, which is sort of what they want out of the deal.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you can see the way they're doing it. They're also trying to pull Hyper Youth Gaming through the jungle to look for a pick, as 1 kill will completely open up this map. Instead, Hyper Youth Gaming being very disciplined, taking the long way around, but that means they will lose all 3 turrets simultaneously. And out of nowhere, from 5,000, that is the 10,000 gold lead that we're looking at.
Yeah, pretty much there, and should be as soon as Woosh takes another tower. Gosu under pressure, though, as Xiaohu starting to really blow people up with just those 2 items. This will be 10k up now for Royal. And I don't know if HYG can defend his base turrets here. Inhibitor turrets looking awful fragile as they're going to approach with still plenty of Baron buff left.
And wow, they've completely destroyed that turret as well. Hyper Youth Gaming cannot defend here. Lupus still in the mid lane, chipping away at that. And they've broken the base at only 23 minutes in.
Just such clever play here from Royal. Again, very disciplined. And this could be a team fight brewing as well. Pillar will pop up March as Woosh doesn't have too much regard for his own life. Does force Lucian back to the fountain, I believe. And they're going to move in with a little bit of Baron left to try and take this inhib.
Yeah, and they move Looper over into the front line one more time. We've already mentioned how tanky this Poppy is without really any items. Trying to keep Woosh on structures so he can chunk them out. You see how much work he does.
And he's actually maybe going to take it by himself. It's going to be close. He will almost break it. But Chu's going to force a fight. Double Pulverize finds the front line there for RNG as Looper going to pop up that W. Now going to chase in. The turret will fall. RNG have broken the base in 2 spots now. These inhibs are very exposed.
They certainly are, and that'll be all she wrote. With a Baron buff, RNG able to take 7 turrets off the map. Just think about that for a second. It was a relatively even game. It's now an 11,000 gold lead at only 24 minutes. They're going to swing down, take a dragon for themselves, or maybe even a team fight.
Oh, good bet here. They found a 17 good riposte, but he has to keep moving out of it. Damage is too much. Chang will miss, and Woosh now going to chase in for the kill. Little too greedy, but Looper does actually pick it up with the teleport as he wraps around for the flank. Damage in the backline, though, as Looper is just tanking everything to the face, and poor XQ couldn't last a second there in that fight at least. Does trade back there for Woosh, but Alistar's now going to die. March is going to try and run out of this, but he will be chased down by the rest of RNG. And Lulu, the only one left alive as Royal, continue to pad those stats.
And what a classy game out of RNG. You know, they waited. They were patient. They were able to trade farm so effectively. As soon as they had their power spikes, they were willing to pull the trigger. And it only happened 4 minutes ago. From 20 minutes to 24 minutes, they have completely slammed this door shut. Dragon, double inhibs. There is absolutely nothing HYG can do at this point in time. And wow, that was just a blink of an eye.
Yeah, we don't have the stat, but I'm going to take 6 or 7k Baron power play as a number out of her. I think, based on the gold league we saw when the buff ran out, that is pretty ridiculous as far as advantages built. And Royal now, just complete control. It's pretty much academic at this point to close this one out. Even Looper, just at the end there, with a cute teleport play.
Yeah, it was really nice, you know, goes for the flank, make sure that Woosh gets the reset so he's able to get back out of the fight as well. And all in all, look at the gold they've accrued across their carries. Every single member, 2,000 or 3,000 up. And it's because it was those turrets falling that really got them the advantage. So everyone got it equally, and everyone kind of came into power at the same time. There was no, like, one huge member, although Woosh is now starting to get there, that just took over the game. It was just good team play.
Yeah, and the thing is, almost 26 minutes into this one, S17 and friends just a little too far behind. Marta's going to get aggressive. Woosh will jump straight in on top. Repost is there. I think it might have blocked the charge, but a flash forward there for Woosh. Does get Cocoon, but Marta still there to protect him. Now the rest of the squad in for HYG as S17 still low in the back, running towards that fountain. He will be safe. Marta able to protect the 80 carries. The rest of Royal starting to move up.
Yeah, so they're able to get in there at the end, and wow.
Pre-flush.
Yeah, just so scared of Xiaohu at this stage of the game. And that's a scary thing. That was probably the best they could have hoped for. Very big overextension.
Oh, Looper. Damage there onto Shu. Gets low, is forced to pop that ultimate. Marta can appeal them up and separate them as S17s. Maybe caught out in the front line. Wild Growth is in. Looper, 3-man knock up there with the ulti. XQ off to the sides, getting absolutely ripped to shreds. Gosu going to get bursted down as they'll claim another. Tristana does die, but I don't know if it's going to matter. It'll be a somewhat unclean ace, but they'll chase them down as Xiaohu gets the double.
Yeah, and the flash pillar out of Marta there at the end to make sure they secure the ace. It will be a 27-minute victory, which is about 7 minutes quicker than their average, and they did it very easily.
Yeah, very efficient and ruthless. That's the Royal we've come to know in these first few weeks, and they continue on the right foot here as they look to end still undefeated here in week number 2. 1-0 now against Hyper Youth Gaming.
Yeah, and you can't even really say there was much Hyper Youth Gaming did wrong in that game. It was more what RNG did correctly. You know, able to keep the tempo of the game steady until they made their teleport play into the top side of the map. And, you know, Hyper Youth Gaming, you can't really take much away from them. They tried to control Dragon. They obviously had a clear idea that they wanted to get towards that 5th mark. They forced them off number 3 even. It was just that one ace in the top lane. That's kind of EDGS, you know, keep
Yeah.
the game even, ace top lane, take Baron, win the game.
And I guess maybe that's what we have to look to. The macro play, the way they ended that game was beautiful from Royal.
Once they got the lead, they understood that, you know, longest lane, top lane already has a wave built up. AD carry's going to go there to clean it because that's what all LPL teams do. With no culling, we can just make sure that we push through 2 turrets very quickly. And then leaving every single lane being pressured meant they all fell simultaneously, and they couldn't really get that big headbutt pulverize combo out of Shu, which is what they needed to win the team fight. So I completely agree with you. From a strategic level, RNG looking very impressive.
Yeah, and the other thing was the way they got there was by good team fighting. So if they're playing well at the macro level and at the micro level in team fights, that's a pretty scary team.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, there are no slouches in the laning phase either. It wasn't like they were coming through from CS discrepancies. So all across the board, as I said, that was a start to finish, like, pretty solid performance from RNG. We're not expecting these huge flashy plays out of the Hyper Youth Gaming, I guess, team. So if they lose a game methodically like that, you just don't know really where to point to what the adaptations they'll make next game.
I feel like it's so hard to play against MLXG when he plays something like Graves, because these aggressive junglers, and Graves especially does so much damage, that when you pick something like Fiora, Lucian, Lulu, where you're clearly trying to protect a few key carries and kind of scale, you are gonna fall behind in the mid game like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is that they kind of traded Lupa, who was falling slightly behind because he got first blood, for all his farm on MLXG. He stayed in the jungle, didn't even join the 4 for nothing split push in the top lane, just kept taking camps, kept taking buffs, 3 buffed on the other side March. So I completely agree with you. Unless you're going to bring heavy CC to try and blow up MLXG right now, just get him off the likes of the Kindred, the likes of the Graves. Put him back on a utility jungler because he plays them well, but he's just not as devastating in the mid game.
Yeah, and it's funny, again, on sort of that note, is to look at Xiaohu playing LeBlanc, which, okay, you'd think more of a carry champion, more of an assassin. He did the same thing. He just facilitated. Instead of this time with CC, it's damage.
Yeah, he wasn't even trying to kill people. He was just like poking them out of lane so they could siege up, and the build was really nice. You know, he understood that like he was only going to get 2 or 3 items because of the scaling potential. So he didn't go for Spooky Ghost. He went for the Morellonomicon. He went for, I guess, the Luden's Echo and the added burst potential. And what that meant is when they wanted to hit their stride, Xiaohu was as powerful as he could be with the gold he had. And that just meant that they were able to take over the mid game.
Yeah, and again, it's crazy to think how effectively they're playing together as a team. Poppy Ultimates continue to impress me. It feels like if Alistar is going to be such an important champion, Poppy has to be important, because that Ultimate's ridiculous.
This is something I do want to talk about. It's the lack of respect towards Poppy. Because if you ever run a mid-range AD carry, Poppy is always in the danger zone when they're able to hit Lucian, and it's just not going to ever work out for you. I like when people pick like the likes of Tristana against Poppy because she can outrange him and, you know, with the drawer bead, knock him back and stuff like that. Lucian versus Poppy just always goes in Poppy's favor right now, and LPL teams keep picking into it.
Well, we'll see if things change. Poppy has seen an awful lot of popularity, but don't go too far away. RNG, can they close out 2-0 and keep their week up? Or HGY going to force in that game 3? After this break, we'll find out.